Across different cultures and religions, women have covered their heads for centuries. Some with scarves, others with veils, some as a mark of faith, others as tradition. In India, 89% of Muslim women cover their heads outside their homes, and 64% wear a burqa. In South India, 23% of Muslim women prefer the hijab. 83% of Muslim women say they cover their heads, compared to the 22% of Hindu women. On the other hand, 59% of Hindu women also cover their heads. Interestingly, apart from Hindu women, 18% Muslim, 22% Christian, 29% Sikhs wear bindis, even though it's not a part of their faith. So let us understand more about the Muslim woman. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to All About Her. And in the third episode of season 1, we have Dress Codes in Religion, Chapter 1, Story of the Hijab. In Arabic, the word hijab means a curtain or a barrier. It's not just a headscarf, it's a concept, a deeply personal, often public, and sometimes a political expression. It describes a scarf wrapped around the head, covering the hair, neck, and ears, but leaving the face visible. And while the hijab has taken on a symbolic meaning for many, it's not so different from the other forms of head coverings worn by women of India of various faiths. Like the mitpakat or the snood in Judaism, the pastolnik worn by some Christian nuns, or the dupatta often seen in Hindus and Sikh communities. Since 1970s, more Muslim women around the world have embraced the hijab as an expression of modesty, of identity, and faith. Most Islamic scholars agree that covering the head is required, and many women choose to do so proudly. But what does the Quran say? Here's something fascinating. The Quran never directly uses the word hijab to describe women's clothing. Instead, it speaks of modesty using other terms like the jilbab, which means an outer garment, and the khimar, a generic headscarf. The term hijab in the Quran refers to a curtain, like the one that separated Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, wives from the visitors. Some argue that these verses applied only to Prophet's family. Others believe they guide modesty for all Muslims. In some countries and legal school of thought, hijab means covering everything except face and hands. In others, even the face must be covered with a niqab or a burqa. And in many places, it's ultimately left to personal conviction. So, what's the purpose of the hijab? According to Islamic teachings, hijab is about practicing modesty starting from puberty. There are two important verses in the Quran. One advises men to lower their gaze, refer to the hijab of the eyes. The other advises women to dress modestly, which many interpret as including covering her hair. There are many different forms of coverings. The hijab, perhaps the most recognized. The hijab covers the hair, the neck, but leaves the face open. It's what many think when they picture a typical modest Muslim dress. The niqab, a veil that covers the entire face, leaving just the eyes visible. In some places, it's worn with a separate eye cover or paired with a loose black cloak called an abaya. The burqa is the most concealing of all. It drapes the entire body from head to toe with a mesh screen to cover the eyes to allow them to see, common in parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan. It is seen as a symbol of global debate about women's right and state control. The jilbab is a loose, full body outer garment. It is often worn over everyday clothes and sometimes combined with a niqab for a fuller coverage. Think of it like a religious overcoat, modest, flowing, and simple in color. A khimar, a long cape-like headscarf. It covers the head, the neck, and shoulders, sometimes even part of the chest, but still leaves the face visible. It's modest, elegant, and worn across so many cultures. Stepping into South Asia, where the dupatta reigns, a long decorative scarf, also worn by many Hindu and Sikh women. It's draped loosely over the head or shoulders, sometimes covering the chest. And then there is the shela, popular in the Gulf region, a long rectangular scarf that's wrapped around the head and tucked or pinned to the shoulder. It flows beautifully, striking a balance between tradition and style. There was a very trending and sensational case at the beginning of 2022 in the state of Karnataka. A government college in Udupi banned 6 Muslim girls from wearing the hijab in the classroom. The college allowed hijab on campus, just not inside the classroom. The girls wearing the school uniform argued that male teachers were present and covering their hair was necessary. And just like that, a quiet protest began. And then came a reaction. The Hindu students arrived the next day wearing saffron scarves, which was strongly connected to their Hindu identity. The statement was clear. If they can wear their religion, so can we. This created tensions across Karnataka and protests broke out. The state government stepped in, shutting down on high schools and colleges to prevent violence. What started in one classroom has now become a national headline. Soon it reached India's highest court, and then on March 15, 2022, a 3-judge bench of the Karnataka High Court upheld the ban of the hijab in the state's educational institutions. The hijab is not just religious, it's political, emotional, social. In her book, A Quiet Revolution, Professor Leila Ahmed explains how the hijab became a symbol of protest, of assertion, a way to say, this is who I am and I will not erase it. Some wear it to express faith, others wear it to resist social pressure. Some protest being forced to remove it, others protest being forced to wear it. As graphic novelist Marjan Satrapi once said, forcing a woman either way is violence. In terms of law, the hijab ban actually touches several constitutional rights. Article 19, freedom of expression. Article 21, personal liberty and privacy. Article 25, freedom of religion. Article 29, no discrimination in education. But yet the ban was upheld. The hijab ban ignited many opinions amongst its supporters and protesters of the ban. The hijab poses no threat to public order. Banning it denies education to girls from religious minority. It violates autonomy, privacy, and freedom of expression. Schools should embrace diversity, not demand erasure. But what is the bigger picture? When the state tells women what to wear, even in the name of liberation, it oversteps. Whether it's enforcing hijab in Iran or banning it in India, both are attempts to control women's bodies. The law must protect women. Schools must be spaces of learning and freedom, not uniformity and silence. You can't ask a girl to leave her faith at the door of the classroom. In fact, the conversation is not even about clothing anymore. It's about freedom, self expression. Whether a woman wears a hijab, a burqa, a bindi, a dupatta, the right to choose must be hers. And that's what we must protect. Next time, we'll explore how Hindu traditions influence dress, from temple saris to sacred threads. Until then, remember, what we wear can express faith, pride, protest, or simply comfort. But the choice should always be our choice.